Do you know why some of the world's best brews will never make it to the shelf? It's because they're homebrewed.
Today we're celebrating National Homebrew Day by brewing our own version of the classic style, and we're calling it Ohio Hop Bitters.
In this special episode, we're going to keep celebrating American Craft Beer Week by inviting you to join us as we brewed our Ohio Hop Bitters. We're going to share a little bit of history of homebrewing in America with you, and then we're going to taste our homebrew right here.
So stay with us because we're about to get brewing. Hi, I'm Jennifer, certified beer server.
And I'm Paul, certified Cicerone. And together, we're a couple of beers. Okay, we're going to jump right into our brew day and show you how we made our Ohio Hop Bitters, which is our take on English special bitters. And the first step was to fill out our grain bill. These malts contain all the starches and the enzymes needed to convert those starches into sugars during the mash.
The next step is to mill the grist.
That's right, by crushing the malt into grist, we release all those starches and those enzymes, making it ready to go into the mash.
We're going to heat up our strike water to 155 degrees.
We have to be careful not to get too hot because that will kill the enzymes and prevent the starches from being converted. Now we're preparing our mash tun, and you can see I'm putting a false bottom in, which will prevent little bits of grain from coming through. But this is just a 10-gallon insulated igloo cooler, which is just perfect as a mash tun.
Then we pour our strike water into the mash tun.
Typically, we'll lose a few degrees of heat, but that's okay. We want to mash at 152, and we heated the water to 155. It should be perfect. Next, it's time to add our grist to the strike water, and here we're just pouring it in. Already the smell is amazing. It's starting to look a little bit like a porridge.
We want to stir vigorously to avoid getting any dough balls in the mash.
And that would result in a much less efficient mash. Remember, the whole point of the mash is to convert those starches to sugars, which our yeast will then convert to CO2 and alcohol.
Then we seal the lid and wait for about an hour.
While we sit back and wait, the enzymes are hard at work in the mash, converting those starches into sugars. At the end of the hour, we're going to very carefully start pulling wort off of the mash. This has to be done very, very slowly.
The first runnings of the wort will go back into the mash tun in a process called Vorlauf.
Recirculating these first runnings will allow the grain bed to settle, and it will begin to act as a natural filter as we continue to draw the wort off. That wort is already delicious, smells wonderful, super sweet.
It's important to take things nice and slow so we don't get a stuck mash.
That's right. If we go too quickly, we'll compact that grain bed and there won't be any way that wort can continue to flow through it, and that means we're in trouble.
Next is the sparge, where we rinse the remaining sugars out of the mash.
Our sparge water is 178 degrees. We have a bit of tin foil we've placed in the mash tun that's been perforated, and as we pour the hot water on, it slowly seeps through the grain bed and rinses out all those residual sugars.
We do this until we reach a pre-boil volume of 7.5 gallons. Then it's in the pot and on the way to the boil. As the boil reaches the hop break, then we add our fresh hop.
Now, we normally use pelletized hops, most brewers do, but these hops were cultivated by our dear friends Matt and Carissa Cantrell at their suburban homestead in Marysville, Ohio. So that's our Ohio twist. Now, because they're fresh hops, we're using them in greater amounts. They're not concentrated like the pelletized hops. Now, we have a good rolling boil here, but we can't just let it go. We have to continually adjust the heat.
We always need to keep an eye out for boilovers.
Our boil time is 60 minutes, and that's going to do a couple of things. The first thing is that it's going to convert those long chain sugars from the mash into short chain sugars, which will be readily available for food for the yeast. Secondly, all of the isohumulones in the hops are going to isomerize. What that means is the bitterness is going to be imparted into the beer. So 60-minute boil, and we're nearly there.
The whole neighborhood smelled like bread and hops. It was amazing. Next, it's time to add the Wort Chiller and sterilize it.
Our Wort Chiller is a simple copper coil, a tube which we run cold water through, which brings the heat down very quickly. Anytime wort is hot and not boiling, it develops a compound called dimethyl sulfide, or DMS.
It smells a little bit like creamed corn.
And creamed corn might be great at a barbecue, but it's not exactly the kind of flavor we're looking for our beer.
After a 10-minute hop stand, it's time to remove the hop spider.
We want to make sure we take our time and let it drain well to make sure we get all of that hoppy goodness.
Now we can remove the Wort Chiller and set it aside.
Now this is the only time we want to add oxygen to our wort. When we add oxygen early on, that'll give a boost to the yeast and help them reproduce and do their job.
We pour the wort vigorously into the fermentation bucket. Now it's time to pitch our yeast.
It's worth noting here that brewers don't actually make beer. We create the conditions that allow yeast to make beer. And so we're adding our English ale yeast to the top. That's where it's going to do all its great work. We're going to seal it up, put it in a dark corner, and put an airlock in.
Now all we have to do is wait and let the yeasties do their thing.
And that's always the hardest part. Primary fermentation is going to be about 7 days. And if you ask me, listening to it bubble in the corner, all the while knowing beer is just around the corner, is not easy.
When primary fermentation was complete, we added priming sugar and bottled.
Now we're really looking forward to tasting our homebrew, and we've got the review coming right up.
But first, let's jump back into history to find out how the U.S. became a hotbed of homebrewing.
Homebrewing in the United States isn't new. In fact, it's as American as apple pie, or more accurately, hard cider. In colonial times, beer was a staple made at home, often by women, using local grains and household spices. Not only was it a fortifying and nutritious part of the daily diet, but in a time of cholera and dysentery, it was also much safer than water. Even children would drink a low-alcohol small beer made from a second rinse of the mash.
But things changed drastically in the 20th century. First with industrial brewing, then with Prohibition. From 1920 to 1933, it was illegal to produce or sell alcohol, and that included homebrew.
But even after Prohibition ended, homebrewing remained illegal. That didn't stop people from doing it, of course. Folks found creative ways to keep making beer in basements and garages, including my great-grandfather, a notorious neighborhood homebrewer in his day. I think he'd be proud to know that his great-great-grandchildren are still carrying on the tradition.
In 1978, there was a total game changer for homebrewers. President Jimmy Carter signed H.R. 1337, making homebrewing legal again at the federal level.
In the same year, the godfather of American homebrewing, Charlie Papazian, author of The Complete Joy of Homebrewing, helped launch the American Homebrewers Association and inspired generations of DIY brewers.
10 years later, the AHA officially declared May 7th National Homebrew Day. Since then, thousands have joined in to celebrate brewing by doing just that, brewing.
One of the happy results of the burgeoning U.S. homebrew scene is that many of your favorite craft breweries started as homebrew dreams.
So here's a toast to all the homebrewers out there who will continue to make some of the best beers that we'll never get to taste.
Cheers. Okay, Jen, I think we've reached the moment of truth.
Yes.
We're finally going to open our first bottle. Oh, that has a good sound. Of Ohio hop bitters. We made it after a English special bitters, and that's the style. And again, with all Ohio hops from Central Ohio, Fuggles hop.
Fresh.
And look here. I'd say, first of all, that looks wonderful. A little bit of chill haze.
And I get the scent. It just comes right off the top as I was pouring it.
What are you getting?
I get cracker.
Okay.
It's clean.
Like saltine.
Mm-hmm.
I get a definite hop note, and it's not the usual hop note.
Mm-hmm.
So in America, we expect American hops to be citrusy, piney, resinous. I'm not getting that here.
No.
I'm getting woody notes, earthy notes perhaps, maybe floral. I'll say this too, our homebrew is not filtered. It's bottle conditioned, But this is pretty clear beer. We've got a little bit of chill haze, which is normal, but
Beautiful, actually.
it's a great color. Okay, well, it's really hard to try to be calm and metered about this because all I want to do is taste it.
Right.
We're very excited. So let's not waste any more time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, nice. Kind of light body.
Yeah.
Still full flavored.
Mm-hmm.
Bitter, but not what you'd expect. Like not the classic American IPA kind of bitter. Kind of that woody drying note on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a fairly sweet beer.
It is, but it's not over sweet, but it has a balance.
This is 5% on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty sessionable beer.
Yeah. Something to drink all day?
Yeah, so you could drink this in the summer and not worry about burning the brisket.
That's really good. I'm happy with this. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You want to go to the scorecards?
Yeah.
Here we go. Ohio Hop Bitters. Now, we'd love to hear what you're brewing up at home, whether it's an extract beer on the stovetop, or a partial mash in a brew in the bag, or all grain. Tell us in the comments. We'd love to be on the journey with you.
And make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future rounds of a couple of beers.
But until then, may your beers be cold.
And your beds be warm.
Cheers.